Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Martin-Carreras, and today I'd like to talk to you about a patient-centered platform for radiology reports. But first, I'd like you to envision the following scenario. A patient has just unfortunately been diagnosed with lung cancer. The patient visits their oncologist for the first time, who orders a staging CT of the abdomen and pelvis. And the patient then comes to our radiology department to undergo the exam and is told about logging on to the patient portal to review the results of their imaging examination. Several days later, the patient logs onto the patient portal to read their report, which makes mention of a 1.5 centimeter right adrenal mass in keeping with an adrenal adenoma. Now, the patient was unaware of this mass and worries what this will mean for their care, their treatment, and their overall prognosis. We'll return to our patient shortly. Here we have one of the first radiology reports ever written by a neurologist named William James Morton, just 6 months after Rankin's discovery. We have a report written for a referring physician with an impression. The X-ray shows plainly that there's no stone of an appreciable size in the kidney, and just a tiny hedge. The picture is not so strong as I would like, but it is strong enough to differentiate the parts. Now, for many of us that craft radiology reports regularly, other than the fact, and some would say thankfully, that reports are no longer handwritten, not much has changed through the years. But what has changed is our audience. Online patient portals are now essentially a national standard, and patients and their families are increasingly accessing our reports through these portals. But we have to remember that access does not equal understanding, and patients often cite lengthy radiology reports with overly technical terms as barriers to their comprehension. And health literacy issues also affect many of our patients, with over 80 million US adults having limited health literacy. Now, at our institution, we analyze nearly 100,000 radiology reports for their readability. And what we found is that this is where you'll find the average report, somewhere between the 12th or 13th grade reading level, and this is where you'll find the average patient, at or below the 8th grade reading level. So clearly we have a gap, and really the question is, what can we do to bridge this gap for our patients? Now, many of you in the audience may be familiar with the site genius.com. It's a media company where users and artists can annotate song lyrics with the meaning behind them. Here we can see lyrics to the great song Alexander Hamilton from the famous musical Hamilton, with lyric descriptions which have been annotated by the songwriter Lin-Manuel Miranda. But what exactly does this have to do with our problem in radiology? Well, it just so happens that in many ways, Genius is a lot like our solution to bridge the gap between our reports and our patients. Porter, the patient-oriented radiology reporter. Now, Porter is a tool which can be implemented into patient portals to annotate radiology reports with over 14,000 terms, lay definitions, and public domain illustrations. And preliminary results of Porter use show that 91% of patients found the illustrations to be helpful, and 77% of patients found that the lay definitions helped them to better understand the radiology report. Now, I'd like to return to our patient from earlier today. And imagine that the Porter interface was built into the portal that the patient was using, and that they could hover over the term adrenal adenoma in their report to learn that this is a benign growth, not cancer, from the outer layer of the adrenal gland. This could provide our patient with immediate relief at an already difficult time. Now, our hope is that platforms like Porter not only help our patients to better understand the radiology report, but also serve to empower them to take greater and more active roles in their care. And last, but certainly not least, we hope that platforms like Porter can enhance our patients' relationships with their radiologist, because together then, the possibilities would be truly endless. Thank you very much.